Hello, you're listening to From McClay to Zalma. I'm your host, Karen Miller. This podcast is about the adventures and travels of two women from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, who work for the U.S. Army at Zama, Japan. Their stories are told through hundreds of letters written home.
Episode 7, The Rainy Season. Welcome, listeners, to From McClay to Zama. It's been a while since I posted a new episode. The end of the year gets pretty crazy for middle school teachers. Now I'm ready for new adventures, quality time with the interns, Mr. Lab and Miss Malinois, and creating more podcasts. I promise to get a few more posted before heading off on my next trip. I thought I would start this episode off with my favorite story about my Aunt Bern. In fact, I liked it so much that I used to tell the story to my girls when they were little, and I eventually made it into a children's book. When I was young, I lived on a small farm in Crawford County, Pennsylvania. My main job was naming. My brother got up and fed the animals early in the morning and late in the evening, and he did the lion's share of the work. But I was the namer. I named cows, chickens, dogs, and anybody else that needed named. Early on, I named a really lovely red and gold bantam chicken, Margaret. I was waiting for the inspiration to come along for a Bern pet, and one day it did. One of my recent gifts from Bern was a copy of the Sherlock Holmes stories, and I loved that book, and when we adopted a lovely basset hound, I saw my inspiration. For hours, Bernice and I played Sherlock Holmes. She was my Watson. I was very excited that I would have the opportunity to introduce her to Bern. I just knew that Bern would understand the honor in naming the first dog I ever got to name after her. When they arrived from Harrisburg for a summer visit, I waited as long as I could stand and then drug her by the hand to meet her surprise. I said, "This is my new dog, Bernice." Shock, surprise, and then tears. She said, "Do you think I look like that ugly fat dog?" So if you don't know me, apparently I'm lacking in the social skills area. I hope that she eventually understood, but I'm not sure. I really thought it was more of an honor than having a chicken namesake, and Peg was cool with that. By the way, my daughter and I just returned from a trip to Crawford County, Pennsylvania. I visited our former farm for the first time in 40 years. The current owners were just wonderful and friendly, and especially considering that the trip started with me bursting into tears when I met them. But it really improved from there. I haven't felt so many emotions at once for quite a while. Now I know how my middle school students feel. We chatted about experiences there that we had in the 1970s. All of the buildings that were once on the property are gone. The barn, the homestead, and the 2 sheds. I was only able to find the outline of our former garden, the same place that they had theirs, and 2 trees that were in the yard back then. They gave me 2 pegs that were used to hold our old farmhouse together, which they had eventually had to demolish. They rebuilt themselves a lovely home. What an honor it was to meet this family, and they were very generous. While we were there, we visited friends, old haunts, and stayed in a lovely little cabin. Georgie explored the Goodell Gardens in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. She hiked and did the maze, while I chatted with the friendly woman in the gift shop and toured the gardens. They had beautiful foxgloves blooming, one of my favorite plants. Thanks, Bern, for all those British murder mysteries. We finished our trip with a great dinner with friends and a bonfire. We saw more than 30 deer, many wild turkeys, tons of chipmunks and bunnies, and the red-winged blackbirds that were everywhere. I had forgotten about them. What a beautiful place. We decided it smells and looks like home. And now for letters. This one is from Peg, written July 20th, 1953, from Camp Zama. Dear Mother and Daddy, I am now officially at home. I got my food locker today, and I got out my radio. I had it turned to WBYE, no longer in existence, in Carlisle, but I wonder why it didn't come in. However, we get stateside broadcasts from the Far East networks, so it's almost like home. The weather here now is horrible. The first weekend we were in Yokohama, the weather couldn't have been nicer, warm in the day and cool at night. We are now in the rainy season. That nice weather was just an interlude, and it rains almost all the time. It looks as though it's going to clear, and then the heavens open again with full force. My raincoat is making quite a hit, but I wish I had another one because this one doesn't get a chance to dry. My room looks like a Chinese or Japanese laundry. My maid washed some clothes, and they're all over the room on hangers sopping wet. This weather will last for about another month, they say, and so maybe I'll feel unsticky then. It's warm too, and you know how uncomfortable that can be. I don't know whether I'm going to like my job or not. My only kick about it, though, is that the people are so unfriendly. I might as well be a stick of wood. The colonel whose secretary I am was in Korea last week, and I didn't see him until today. When he came in, he and I had to acquaint ourselves because no one introduced us. Can you imagine that? My only consolation is that many of the girls have the same complaint. One woman who's been here for 8 years told us that it's a dog-eat-dog world over here, both civilian and military. I don't go for that at all. But now I'm just mad, and by darn, I'll turn handsprings someday so that they do notice me. There are about 15 people in my office alone. I've been introduced to only about 4 of them. The rest just ignore me, and one girl I was introduced to doesn't even speak to me. It's really funny when I stop to think how ignorant people are, but I'm getting used to it. They better be nice or I won't give them any pretzels when you send them. But like I said, that attitude is pretty universal over here, so I'm not alone. Bern is better off in that respect because the people in her office are nicer, but we both could have better jobs as far as the jobs are concerned. However, it's a means to see the world, isn't it? Last Saturday we went into Tokyo. That sure was a thrill, although there were 8 of us and we couldn't get organized to see too much of the city. We went into a few stores and into a DAC hotel, the old Kajo, and saw some more of the DACs that were with us on the ship. Then we went to a Japanese restaurant and had steaks. It was beef from Kobe, and Kobe is supposed to grow the best tasting cattle in the world. They hand massage their steers. We had a massive T-bone and the fixings for about $12.50. It was delicious, but I'll still take Helen Harnish's cooking any old day. We meet in the officers' mess here at Zama, and the food is starting to taste alike. But it's food and not too bad. Gee, what I could do with some homemade baked beans. Sunday we went into Yokohama to the PX. I'm looking for an iron. I don't know whether I can get one here sooner than you could send me mine, but I'm going to look for a few more PXs before I ask you to send it. We've learned that when we see something, we need to get it right away and not even leave the store and think we'll come back and get it. The PX in Yokohama had irons last week, and I thought I would wait until next time to get one. Ha! Well, I told you, we've learned. Westinghouse and Sunbeam irons are $7.50. Not bad. In the meantime, my maid is using Oma's iron. Sunday night, 2 of the girls from Yokohama came out with us, and we went to the movies. We, Bern and I, are going into Yokohama tomorrow night and Wednesday night to dances at the service club. I hope we have fun. I'll let you know. Nothing else too exciting. I'm going to enclose a list of things I want and pay for them all out of my checking account. Write soon. I've read all your letters about 1,000,000 times. Love and kisses, Peg. List of things to send. I think in Bowman's or Pomeroy's they have cookie or cracker cans that are guaranteed to keep things crispy. Please send one of those with pretzels, Nussers or the kind that Schweitzer Cheese now sells. Don't send too many, though, unless you know a good way to keep them crisp. I could use my purple garment bags if you aren't using them. 1 large can of cocoa mix. It's been a long way to the mess, especially if it's raining, and I can eat in my room. It's just across the street from my office. 1 desk blotter, the kind I had on my desk at home, please. P.S. Send 2. Bern wants one as well. A bedspread for a regular-sized single bed, dark green or with dark green in it. Plaid would be pretty, and not chenille, unless that's all you can find. Bird wants a blue bedspread. Any color of blue, same size as mine. Bird wants her alarm clock. She says it's in her room. We just decided that you better send my iron. It's in the top drawer of my buffet, the one that was in the kitchen, I think. Just call Camp Curtain Storage and ask them if you can come up, and they'll have someone there to move things if it's necessary. I don't think the buffet is under too much stuff. If you see anything else you want, just help yourself. I know it's a lot of trouble, but we'd sure appreciate it. I don't know any regulations about sending stuff here, so you'll have to find out whether you can send all of it and pay for postage and everything out of my money. Peg. P.S. The offer for the TV set still holds. Help yourself. The next letter is from Bern, July 20th, 1953. Hi, this is a hurriedly scribbled must. Peg asked me to write last night and tell you that if you haven't already sent her iron, don't bother. We bought a Westinghouse automatic for $7.50 at the PX. If you've already mailed it, that's okay. Then we'll both have one. We each have a different maid, but we're hoping to make them understand about sharing the iron. The reason this is a hurried note instead of a chatty letter is because I read a book last night instead of writing. Sounds familiar? Honest, it's the first one since being shipboard. Sound of Glory by Agnes Turnbull. Very, very good, about a minister and his family. The sun is shining today, a very welcome change. I felt so glad to see it that I dressed up special in a pink linen dress and high-heeled shoes. Might even dance tonight. Mosquitoes love me. My arms are almost covered with bites, but I finally secured an aerosol bomb, and last night I was only wakened once to chase them. Peg hasn't been troubled at all. Why can't I attract more interesting creatures, men for instance? It's time for work now. When I get my mail, if I ever do, I'll write a real letter. Much love, Bern. Letter 15 is from Peg. Dear Mother and Daddy, I have a few minutes before I go to lunch, so I'll give you the benefit of the typewriter for a change. Isn't this a relief from deciphering my handwriting? I'm pretty settled into some sort of routine. My job is okay. I'm making out all right so far, but it certainly isn't the most interesting job in the world. I guess after Polyclinic and McFarland, nothing would hold my interest. I'm just spoiled and nosy, too. In my office now are all the big guns, colonels, lieutenant colonels, major, and even a major general. It's so quiet and dull most of the time that it's an effort to keep from going to sleep. I'm the secretary to the chief veterinarian, Colonel Van Toll, and he's a character. No one seems to like him very well because he's eccentric, but he and I get along just fine. I personally don't see anything wrong with him, except that his bark is worse than his bite. He just took off for the rest of the day, so I won't be too busy. It's a pretty good deal that I have, but as I said before, it isn't very interesting. I haven't gotten any mail from you for a long time, and poor Bern hasn't gotten any of your mail yet. I did tell you that her mail has been held up, and I sure hope she gets it today. I got a letter from Pete, but none from you since the two I got here when I first arrived. It is stinking hot right now. At least the rain has gone, but the sun is just as bad as the rain was. This past weekend, some of the girls came out from Yokohama to go swimming here at Zama. It was much too hot to do any sightseeing or shopping. I should get paid sometime this week, and then I'm really going to start shopping in earnest. I got Marky the cutest robe for his birthday. I'm waiting to get him a pair of Gettas, though before I send it. I think I'll send it to you because I'll probably have more things to send home too, and then you can send it to him. That will give you a chance to see it too. Some of the folks over here tell us that our 10% differential is going to be taken away from us. They also say that if it is taken away, the government will send us home whenever we want to leave instead of having to stay the 2 years. At this point, whether they take away the 10% or not, I frankly don't think I'll stay 2 years. However, you know me, I'll change my mind at least 200 times in the next few months. I guess you got the letter from Bern not to send the iron. If you have, though, that's okay. Then we'll both have one. And Mother, if you haven't sent the box yet, if you can find any shoes like my red ones in black size 5.5B, will you send them? If they don't have black, then send them in beige or another pair of red ones. I got them in Pomeroy's basement for $3.95. We'll finish this later. 7:30 p.m. This is the day the truce was signed. 3 of the women, big wheels in my office, went over to my room to listen to General Clark's message on my radio. Other than that, nothing more was said about it. I don't know anyone well enough to discuss it with them, and of course, None of the DACs are informed enough to discuss it intelligently. What do the folks back home think about it? It's funny, but somehow I don't feel as though I'm 8,000 or more miles away from you. Sometimes it seems as though I could call you and ask you to come to Zama for the weekend. I'm most anxious to hear from you again. No letters again today. I'm sure you've written, but where are they? Have you gotten my letter with my new APO? But in another way, home just seems years ago. So much has happened, and I've met new people, seen strange things. I don't even look twice at an ox cart anymore, and I'm quite used to the clip-clap of their wooden shoes on the streets. That it seems as though I've been here for 10 years. One woman who's been lovely to us, a Mrs. Davis, has been here for about 8 years, and she says that she just loves it. She has no real ties left in the States, and maybe Japan would be okay for a home if you didn't have 526 Maclay Street to go back to. No, I'm not homesick or blue or anything like that, so don't start worrying. But as I said, I'm pretty well settled in a routine again, and I'm a full-fledged working gal. My office got out a personnel list, and I'm listed as a GS4, so I can hardly wait to see how much money I get with my 10%. You know, a greenback is going to look mighty good to me. We use military payment certificates, which are printed for coins as well as dollars, and we use them in all the government-owned stores and establishment. We use yen for all the Japanese merchandise. I feel quite wealthy when I give a cab driver 100 yen. It looks as though it should be a $100 bill. Neither MPC nor yen seems like real money, though, and I know I'll have to watch myself or I won't have anything left. However, I still can't figure out how these gals say they can't save money. As far as clothes are concerned, I'm going to wear what I have and depend on you, with Barbara's help, to send me what I need. Some of the materials are pretty, and I do want to get some raw silk, but I'll take stateside clothes any day. The seamstresses put very pretty handiwork on the clothes, but I just can't see it. I don't know whether I told you or not, but most of the things I've seen to buy don't even appeal to me. I like the silverware, such as salt and pepper shakers, and a couple of other things, but a lot of it is what we would consider junk, just poor imitation of U.S. products. However, I suppose the bug will get me, and I'll have to see nicer things than anything I've seen so far. One thing I've wondered about is what to buy for the little boys on my list. I can't buy them dolls, and the other toys are just no good. Maybe I'll find a sale on Japanese swords somewhere. Wouldn't they just love that? My maid is working out pretty well, but Bern sure is having trouble with hers. Bern just finished pressing 2 dresses over again, so I think her maid is headed back to the rice paddies. Today, one of the girls in medical section who lives in Tokyo was real nice to me and invited me to use her room there to freshen up anytime I go to Tokyo. That made me feel real good, and some of the rest are loosening up, so things are getting better all the time. Take good care of yourselves and Blondie. I can hardly wait to hear about the MEs, because I guess I can't expect a letter from them until at least Christmas. Love, Redhead. Well, I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and if you are, please subscribe in Spotify or follow in Apple Podcasts. This will help my listeners find my podcast more easily. You can access the show's website at www.FromMaclayToZama, FromMaclayToZama.com. In the next episode, Modern Vices, you will hear letters 16 and 17. I hope you have a great week.